Hi guys, for today I'm bringing to you 3 farmhouse themed spring Dollar Tree DIYs, all with a floral theme as well. For the first DIY, I will be using this pickup truck with the Happy Easter, this welcome sign, as well as some floral picks which I'll show you later. And one thing that is not from the Dollar Tree is this paint stir stick, but you could always use the little garden picks that they have if you don't have a paint stir stick. So what I'm going to start off with is by taking apart the truck. I will not be using the Happy Easter sign, so I'll save that for later. I might use it in a different project. And I'm going to be cutting off the part with the eggs. So I'm just left with the truck on its own. Now to cut off the egg part, I do use an X-Acto knife, and then I make my slits on each side, and then I just cut off the excess. You might have to sand down a little bit. I am going to be sanding the tires and all of the glittery parts, as I don't want them to be showing quite so much. I was going to keep the color and just kind of go over top of it lightly, but I wind up having to do a little bit more just because when I sand some of the glitter off, it takes a lot of the paint off. So I had to do a little bit more than I thought I would, but that's okay. I still wanted it to be pink, even though pink is kind of a Valentine's Day color, but it's also an Easter color, spring color. You see those muted pinks all the time, even for Easter decor. So I thought it would still be okay. I'm using a little bit of putty to close in the little hole at the top, just so you can't see it so much. It doesn't fill it in completely, but it does the job so it's not so noticeable. Once that has had time to dry, I go ahead and I paint it using the Cotton Candy Pink acrylic paint from the Dollar Tree, and it's just a really light pastel pink color, and like I said, I go over top of the whole truck with this pink color. I am only doing one coat of this paint because I do want it to have that rustic farmhouse look, so I'm going to be distressing it, so I didn't really need it to be covered completely and uniformly like you would if you wanted just one set color and weren't distressing it. I was going to keep the pink in the tires, but when I was going around it in the pink color, I wasn't getting a nice even coverage, meaning that my brush was my hands were shaky, I guess. And it was looking a little bit messy, so I thought I'd just do the whole tire black and I avoid all of that mess. And then after I paint the tires, I go ahead and distress it with the black color. I'm just using an black acrylic paint again from the Dollar Tree. And for distressing it, I'm just kind of dry brushing the black on. I apply a little bit to the brush, and then I dab it off. And then I also go ahead and add some white in there so that I dip a little bit of white, dip a little bit of black, and it gives me kind of like a grayish blackish distressed color. Once that is done, I take apart the little windmill, that sign with the welcome, and all I'm doing is I'm taking the welcome off, and I wanted to keep a part of the base of the windmill, and I thought I could just easily remove this, but it was quite glued on there quite well, so I wasn't able to do it that way, so I just wound up using some wire cutters, and I just cut it off at as close as I could to the welcome sign part. After that, I paint the base of the truck part, the little part where I'm going to have the truck sit on. I paint it in black, and then I just add a little bit of the pink and white as a distress over top of that. So kind of I do the opposite of what I did with the truck. And this is where I'm going to be gluing my truck down. If you wanted to, you could also use the Happy Easter sign part from the truck, as your base. I decided to keep that for something else in case I wanted to have a Happy Easter sign that was that wide, but you can also use that for your base, and then that way you don't have to buy anything else. I am just using some hot glue to attach the truck. And I wind up putting a few of those little cubes from the Dollar Tree, the little wood square cubes, just for something to have the truck lean against and not fall down. Now, I did use a little bit of the wood glue and hot glue combination so that it sticks, but I'm not sure because of the curve of the tires how much of the wood glue actually got on there, but I made sure my high heat gun was really warm and it worked okay. You'll see that I kind of had to adjust it a few times, but it did the trick and it's standing up now. It hasn't fallen over or anything like that. So what you see me doing here is I'm just touching up the little spots where I missed, or if because of the glue it took some of it off just because I was taking it on and off. So I'm just kind of touching everything up, and once I kind of stand it up, I see if I need to add any more paint. But this is what it looks like from the back. And then here I'm going to be hot gluing the windmill. Now just because of the shape of it and everything, it's a little bit raised, so it doesn't stick well with the hot glue. So I wind up just putting a little piece of wood over top of it. You could use a popsicle stick. I had a piece of one of those garden picks that I just put over top of it just so it holds it in place. After I do that, I had these flower picks from the Dollar Tree. They're just white with a little bit of green that I'm attaching. I kind of attach some to the piece of wood and some in between just to get them to stick. I use the leaf part for the ones where I'm not sticking it inside, where like underneath the wood part, and I just attach them by the leaf, and then I add more as needed. I just used one pick and I didn't even use all of the branches from it. I cut it apart. And then I go ahead, and I should have done this before I add more of these little wood squares because I thought the truck needed a little bit more stability. And then I also should have done this before I add fresh flowers onto the truck. I just have a little stencil that I got as a part of like a kit with some chalkboard markers. So I just put fresh flowers and that's it. After I go over top of the fresh flowers with my Sharpie, and I'm just using a black Sharpie. If you have a Cricut, you could cut out the fresh flowers. I have a Cricut, but I decided that I wanted to do this. And I always try to show you guys different things that you can use if you don't have these machines, or if you're not good at freehand writing, what sorts of things you can use that are inexpensive and usually readily available at the Dollar Tree. And then I just go over top of everything again and distress it a little bit more with the white-black combination just to make sure that everything blends in, including the the fresh flowers that I wrote on there. And if you've watched my videos before, you know that I like to use a baby wipe to just blend all of the colors together, and that's what I do at the end here. So here's the finished piece. I'm in love with the way this turned out. It's so cute. It's just a cute little farmhouse sign to me, and it screams spring and Easter, and I love it. Let me know what you think. So this video is a part of a friend hop hosted by Domestic Diva DIY. Sonia is really talented. If you haven't checked her out, make sure you check her out. I'll have her information linked in my description below. And how a friend hop works is that there's a whole bunch of us that have videos that we created. So instead of doing a playlist, I'm going to send you to the next person. And how I'm sending you is you're going to look in my description below to see who the next video is. And that way it keeps it kind of interesting and it keeps you guys entertained, I guess. So check out the person who is next, and their information is linked in my description below. For DIY number 2, I'm using this wall vase from the Dollar Tree. This is another simple DIY. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and taken off the sticker. It was really, the glue was really on there. I even bought this little thing from the Dollar Tree that's supposed to help remove the gunk, kind of like Goo Gone type of thing or whatever. I really do need Goo Gone, but I keep on forgetting to buy it when I'm out at the store. So what I'm doing is just sanding it down as much as I can, and I'm also going to sand the entire piece just to get it really scuffed up, because I'm going to be antiquing this little piece so it's not so shiny. I saw this idea from several people on YouTube and on Pinterest, and I thought it was amazing. There was all sorts of different ideas, but I kind of did my own. So what I'm doing is just soaking some paper towel in vinegar after I sanded. The sanding piece is very important, so you have to sand it and scuff it up really well. And then I'm going to be adding these paper towels to the piece and letting it sit there for a half an hour. Now I wound up doing that, and then I wound up actually putting the back of the piece into a aluminum bin that I filled with vinegar to give it even more. So I probably let it soak a total of about an hour and a half in vinegar with a combination of paper towels and it sitting in a bath of vinegar. Now, if you're doing the paper towel method, you're not like submerging everything in the vinegar. You have to come back every few minutes and re-soak the paper towels. Otherwise, they'll dry out and it won't work. So I probably went every 10 minutes to go and soak them. And then for the first half an hour, and then for the next, I think it was like 45 minutes around there, I wound up just submerging it and then pouring more vinegar over top. And I did not go back. I just left it to sit there. So here is what it looks like after I removed the paper towels. It's nice and aged and I love it. It looks so antiqued and it was so easy to do. I mean, it took a little bit of time, but really, really easy to do. And then I'm going to add these floral picks from the Dollar Tree. I think I used 4 different branches, and I put some floral foam into the wall vase so that I could stick the picks in there. And I just do it so these long ones with the white so that they kind of hang at the bottom, and then the other ones I just put in. Really, this is to your taste. You can put lavender in there if you have it. I just did another project with lavender, so I didn't want to add lavender in there, but you can put anything you want in there. And I really like this because I'll be able to use it in the summer, in the fall, and for Christmas too, because the vase itself is versatile, and then you just change out the floral picks. I do take apart the floral picks too, so I don't wind up using quite all 4 of them, but take them apart, make them fit however you want. They don't need to be in the bunch that came in from the store. Don't be afraid to do that. And you don't need to throw them out. If you cut it too short, you can use it for a different project. And that's all there is to this DIY. Really, really simple, very inexpensive, cost me under $5, and it looks beautiful. So here's the finished piece. I just wanted to do a close-up of the vase again, just so you could see how nicely antiqued it is. It's beautiful. I love it so much. And you do it within an hour rather than having to wait years for that to happen. And here it is just hanging up. It has little holes at the back, so you can either attach some rope, or if you have a thinner nail, you can attach it that way. And it looks gorgeous. For this last DIY, I'm going to be painting out this galvanized steel planter, again from the Dollar Tree. Although I think it's cute, and I thought about aging this one as well, I thought I'd show you something a little bit different. It's still going to be distressed, it's still going to be antiqued, but a little bit differently. So I'm going to be using my Rust-Oleum chalked linen white paint to paint over this, and I do 2 coats of it. Not too heavy of coats, but enough to cover it so that it's not showing the steel too much. So if you guys haven't been to my channel before, welcome. My name is Vesna and this is Vesna TV. On this channel I do all sorts of DIY decor pieces on a budget. I do Dollar Tree DIYs, trash treasure, thrift flips, basically anything that I can find and make beautiful. I do it, and like I said, I do it on a budget. So if that's the kind of stuff you like, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell so you can see when I have new videos, and let me know in the comments below that you've subscribed. So after that dries, what I do is I take a baby wipe and I remove some of the paint from the letters, and I'm doing this to make it look even more rustic. I will be going over it with black, but I want it to look even more rustic, so I'm doing this just by removing some of the paint from the letters, and it'll bring out the darker color from beneath. And then I make sure that all of my colors are unified, so I took off a glob of paint with a baby wipe, and then I add black acrylic paint to the top and the bottom using that baby wipe to wipe off excess paint. And then I dry brush all around the container to make it look even more distressed. And that's it for the paint part. As you can see, I painted a little bit on the inside, but not all the way. And it's just that if I put something else in there so that the silver or the steel doesn't show through, but I didn't need to waste paint all the way down because I will never have it empty. And then I'm going to stuff it. Now, here's where I kind of made a bit of a mistake. I did not have enough fluorofoam to put fluorofoam down, so I thought I could just do a little bit of just brown paper and this egg carton. I always use egg cartons kind of as stuffing. And then I thought I could just poke the tulips in there, but unfortunately, they weren't staying up straight, so I had to use a little bit of fluorofoam that I had. I just didn't have enough to do the whole thing, so I just kind of played around with it. And then what I wound up doing is I put a skewer into the bottom of the tulips, and then I wound up hot gluing it inside and poking through little pieces of floral foam, and that helped it stay. But before I did that, I decided I wanted to put legs on this, and I just took a cork and I cut it in half, 2 corks, and I cut them in half, painted them white, and hot glued them to the bottom, just to give little feet to this container. And I'm stuffing the container also with some floral moss. I really wanted the bulbs to show. That's why I didn't hot glue them down, because I could have just hot glued them down and it would have been fine, but I wanted the bulbs to show, so that's why I went the skewer route. But if you do go the skewer route, I suggest you put a full piece of floral foam in the bottom, like have it in there nice and snug so it doesn't move. If you have to put extra, you put extra. And then put the piece of piece of skewer into the bottom of the bulb, and have it be long enough that the bulb can stay at the top, and the part is skewered in, like stuffed into the fluorofoam, and then put your moss over top. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave me a comment and I'll explain better. So that's all there is to it. It was a really easy DIY, again, inexpensive. I actually got these tulips last year at the end of the season, so they were 50% off. So great DIY, and I love it's very spring-like to me. So here's what it looks like all finished. And again, this container you can use all year round, which is great. Just change out the flowers in it, which I love. I always love when I can kind of transition my decor because it gets kind of out of hand trying to store everything. And then that's all there's to it. So let me know which one is your favorite. Leave me a comment below. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the next person that I've recommended in my description below. You won't be disappointed, so hop on over to the next person. Again, they'll be listed in the description below. Thank you so much. Have a great day and stay safe.